Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
Matcha is everywhere right now. Are you a fan? It's in your lattes, your cakes, your bottles, you name it. But here's something that you may not have known. China makes a large percentage of the world's supply. And as a result, farmers are ditching old crops, factories can't keep up, and exports are exploding. But is this just another social media fad, or is matcha here to stay? We'll dig into the green dust fueling a billion-dollar obsession. Coming to you live from our studios in Beijing, this is Roundtable. I'm Steve Hatherley. Thank you so much for being with us today. And for the show, I'm with Yushun and Yushan. First up, from matcha lattes and creamy soft serve to bottled drinks, desserts, and even confectionery, matcha has become one of the hottest and most versatile flavors in China's booming tea drink market. Behind the trend lies a fast-growing, ambitious industry. Farmers, they are changing the game. They're switching traditional crops to shade-grown tea leaves. Factories, too, they're racing to fill orders, both domestic and international, and exports are surging around the world. China produces nearly 70% of the world's matcha, and demand keeps climbing year after year after year. But what's behind it? Why are people in love with this green tea craze? Is it because of the health benefits? Is it the aesthetic? Or is it just pure novelty? Can the matcha boom go beyond a social media trend, or is it destined to fade away like so many viral sensations before it, Yushin and Yushan? I have a feeling that it's here to stay because it feels like it's been more than just a few minutes that matcha has become a big thing.
I think it's been there for a while, and the popularity also changes within these years. I remember it's probably like 8 to 10 years ago when I was in middle school or high school. Matcha was popular, so popular in my hometown, and a lot of ice cream store, bubble tea shops, they all have matcha themed things, and people were just crazy about queuing so long lines for that.
North America too, people were going nuts for matcha, and social media posts, so many people, the aesthetic, they're in the cafe, they've got their matcha latte.
It feels like all the YouTubers has to have a cup of matcha latte.
Yeah, so for one reason or another, or perhaps many, it has really, really taken off. And it is green tea, it's just in a little bit of a different form.
Yeah, a lot of people think matcha is just finely grounded green tea, but actually there is an important difference, and here's how. The tea leaves used for matcha, unlike that for usual green tea, these are grown under the shade for part of their lives. That means that when the tea tree is being grown, the tea farmers actually shade the tea tree for a while so that the tea leaves, they kind of receive less photosynthesis process than usual green tea. And the purpose of doing that is to force the tea tree, the matcha tea tree, to adapt to this less sunlight condition so that they will produce an extra type of chemical which functions as a pigment that makes plants green. That's why when we look at matcha appearing in different drinks and desserts, seems to appear a bit greener than regular green tea.
And sometimes different shades of green they can be.
And the shading process also changes the flavor too. Normally, more sunlight on the tea leaf means less of a compound called theanine because, theanine is responsible for the savory umami taste, the freshness taste in the tea. And sunlight somehow helps break it down. So the shaded matcha tea leaves keep more of these theanine and produce relatively fewer bitterness. That's why a lot of matcha, when we compare it with green tea, it tastes less bitter and dry and more soft and easier to be blended into other drinks. That's how the harmony taste comes out.
That kind of dryness and that bitterness, it is different from the green tea. Of course, green tea can also be really, really, really bitter, but the matcha tea, when you add a lot of matcha powder, you can feel the bitterness, but it's different.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but if people go for green tea, they go after the bitterness. And we know that is very good for health.
Yeah, it's like people who drink strong coffee,
Yeah,
right?
but
There's a reason they drink it. It's because they like the taste. So then you take the matcha powder and you add it to, well, basically anything
Yeah.
these days, milk or cakes or drinks or any types of food items, ice cream. Oh, I even had the, I don't know the name, but it's like the rice cake, frozen rice cake in the flavor of matcha. So it's a matcha frozen rice cake with ice cream inside. And it
that
was
sounds amazing.
delicious. Yeah, really good. So you can find it in almost any product these days, it feels like. Now, that being said, the matcha boom, new, not new, still relatively for sure. But the idea of matcha in Chinese history is not new at all. It's been around forever.
Well, indeed, the development of China's matcha industry can be said to be a renaissance of China's specialties to some extent, because matcha actually originated in China. It was originally called mocha in Chinese and peaked during the Song dynasty from 960 to 1279 AD, so a few hundred years ago. Later on, as the method of steeping leaves and discarding the residue became popular, matcha, which is more closely known to how we consume it nowadays, gradually disappeared from the lives of the Chinese people, but was instead brought to other countries through cultural exchanges, where it was inherited and developed, and later on get very much populated and marketized as it is nowadays. So if we look at it that way, it's sort of Chinese product, and now a lot of the domestic matcha is also making its fame outside of China too.
Yeah, it's continued to grow outside of China. There was a representative from the China Tea Marketing Association speaking at the 2026 Matcha Conference. Yes, there was a conference for matcha in this year. Talking about the fact that the global market for matcha is growing pretty quickly. Over the past 5 years, it has had compound annual growth at 10% plus, and that's outpaced the growth of other things that have been doing well, like avocados, for example, or plant-based milk.
Oh, yes, of course, the popular items
right?
recently.
And matcha is even more popular than those ones, and that has put it kind of in the top tier of health foods all around the world. There's data from the China Tea Marketing Association. Global matcha production is expected to reach almost 18,000 tons. That was as of last year, but the global matcha market is expected to be valued at about almost $5 billion. So it continues to grow here in China, and it continues to grow here around the world. But the popularity in China, where did the kind of health craze, or where did the connection to matcha for whatever reason start to grow?
As I mentioned before, probably 8 to 10 years ago, it was popular, and then it kind of
toned down a little?
Yeah, a little bit. And then it got popular again. A white paper released in 2023 by a research institute under the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology showed that China had become the world's largest matcha producer and also consumer. You mentioned it, 70% of global production.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
In 2025, the country's matcha output surpassed 12,000 tons, and that's 70% of the global production. And the output is projected to even also rise to 18,000 tons this year. So its export volume overtook Japan's for the first time in 2025. And some provinces here in China, like Guizhou and Zhejiang, are among the country's leading producers. I think mostly because of the climate of that
the weather.
area
Yeah.
and also the tradition of growing different types of teas in these regions.
So if the history is long and the popularity seems to come and go and then come back again, why has it become so popular with consumers in recent years? As far as I know, this is speaking maybe more from the global point of view, but people who are looking for a healthier lifestyle, that's one of the big reasons for people's love of it. And then I kind of attribute it to it looks pretty. You know, a matcha latte It looks good in
Yeah.
pictures, doesn't it? So the aesthetic value is there as well. But I don't think that's the number one reason. I think one of the big reasons is because of the health benefits.
Indeed, because matcha is often nowadays associated with natural ingredients. It's so healthy. It looks green. It must function so well in our body, giving benefits to the antioxidants and less sugary image in the product, and some traditional beverages too. So one serving of matcha can pack up to 137 times more antioxidants than regular green tea.
Oh, wow.
That's how it's really benefiting for our health in so many ways. Usually it's marketed into benefits in practice, like glowing skin or boosted metabolism and powerful immune support. So yeah, that's all. We've seen that a lot in advertisements these days. So according to Wang Junhua, who is a matcha brand founder, nowadays the global pursuit of healthier lifestyle is indeed a core reason for matcha's popularity around the globe. So really, people are after greener lifestyles. So the color indicates everything.
You reminded me of that. We mentioned that the taste of matcha. It's of course bitter, but the thing is that a lot of people like the beverages and the sweet of matcha things. It's because people are saying the best compliment about dessert is it's not so sweet nowadays.
Oh.
And then I think the bitterness, even though they put a lot of sugar in that dessert, but with the bitterness of matcha, it just got
Balance out
balanced.
things.
Yeah, it's a nice
And I think
balance.
that's why people are loving it.
Now, I'm not a regular matcha drinker myself, but the experts say that it contains an amino acid that promotes calm and focused energy. So you do get the caffeine boost that you'll get from coffee, but you don't get the jitters maybe if you're not a regular coffee drinker, or the post-coffee slump or that mid-afternoon crash when the caffeine wears off. Apparently, you don't get that when you are a regular matcha drinker.
That's perhaps why I don't feel much after I drink matcha, because I drink coffee every day.
Yeah. So that's one thing. I think another one is that, contemporary tea chains have been major drivers of this kind of growth, because I saw that a 2026 Chinese beverage industry report, among 42 beverage brands surveyed in 2025, and more than 60% of them launched matcha products. That's covering over 100 new offerings. And I think I noticed that a lot of retailers, franchises, they are also introducing different types of matcha products. Walmart has introduced their dedicated matcha-themed sections in their stores.
A whole section?
Yes, and another supermarket is called Hema or Hippo Fresh. They have also matcha bakery products, and they have increased by more than 300% over the past year.
It is the hot item these days. I think, too, is the fact that it is quite versatile, right? We gave some different examples of things that can be added to, like a bubble tea or a latte, or things of that nature. But it can also be added to healthier things, like sprinkled on top of yogurt, for example, or popcorn or oatmeal or whatever. You can go the unhealthy route with it as well, like cookies and brownies and ice cream and things like that. But you can make... and that's what it's hard to find a product like this where it can go the healthy route or it can go the unhealthy route. And I think that's why we see it everywhere these days.
Yeah, and not only in the products as an ingredient, it is also being adapted into tourism attractions in many places in China that are known to be abundant in the production of matcha. For
like
example,
the tea fields, you mean?
Yeah, in the tea fields in Tongren in southwest China's Guizhou province. So that city is known for, over the past few decades, known for producing matcha in China. And they're building this matcha tourism culture experience. Also, that's in practice, it's a center that they've built to showcase unique products such as matcha noodles and matcha lip balms.
Matcha noodles.
I know, right? They add...
What?
Added in everything, literally.
Matcha lip balm, you said.
While in the meantime, they also invite
So
visitors
your lips
to.
looks green.
I was just about to ask that question.
You see, a lot of lip balms they have color, but when you apply it, it doesn't show.
Oh, okay.
We've seen black lip balms before too. But anyhow, while these businesses and tourism attractions they invite visitors to learn about the history of matcha locally and try their hand at dian cha, which is a traditional tea making technique. You've seen it quite often in perhaps movies or pictures. There's a small little bamboo made brush inside a porcelain bowl, and you
Yes.
put matcha inside, and you put some warm water, not too hot water inside, and you mix, and until it has bubble. That's
Yeah,
so
it gets
traditional
foamy.
Chinese. Yeah, foamy indeed. That's how it gets playful instead of tasty.
Yeah, I think it is also about the cultural storytelling and brand marketing in recent years. Of course, we had that kind of image of matcha equals Japan or something like that, right? But in recent years, I think a lot of these local producers in Guizhou and in Zhejiang, they are, I think, increasingly challenging the perception of that. And by drawing on China's Tang and Song dynasty tea traditions and promoting that kind of regional identities, such as these kind of producers, they are also having these tourism things, and they're trying to build a premium image rooted in Chinese tea culture and telling the world that I think the culture behind these kind of tea drinking things.
I remember I asked one day about, because tea is so deeply associated with Chinese culture. And I remember, I think it was you, Yushan. I asked one day, like, why is it so deeply ingrained in everyday culture here? And your response was, I don't know. It just is. And that's what people know, right? Because there's just so much of a lengthy history with tea here in China. But as you also said, Yushan, maybe internationally, when it comes to matcha, everybody knows about tea in China. Everybody knows that very well. But when it comes to matcha, I would be surprised if people knew that 70% of the matcha in the world came from China. I think the majority of people would not know that. And it's gotten so popular that you mentioned Zhejiang, Yushan. There's a person in charge of a local matcha producer there, and he said that the demand for matcha powder has been so strong that downstream clients, they're constantly urging them to ship products even faster. And the first batch, they do multiple batches, I guess. The first batch of matcha powder produced this year sold out completely, and the surging demand also pushed prices higher. So you're seeing a price rise. You're seeing producers struggling to keep up with production and because of an increase in demand. It is absolutely exploding.
Yeah, indeed. And not only on the rising of sales volume and production volume, but also a lot of traditional tea farmers for other teas, they're also turning to matcha. I think it speaks out loud on just how popular and how big of a market.
They see a business opportunity,
Indeed,
right?
comparing perhaps with other different types of teas. Now, here is one example in Wuyi County, in Jinhua City, in eastern China's Zhejiang province. So when I mentioned Wuyi, this place is known for yancha, which is a type of black tea. But nowadays, a lot of tea farmers, of local matcha producers, they reveal just how popular it is for the local matcha industry. The demand for matcha powder has been so strong, and one of the tea farmer in Wuyi County named Zheng Jian said that the tea bushes in the area used to be grown mainly for traditional tea production, but now many farmers locally have switched entirely to growing tea specifically for matcha. Compared with traditional tea, matcha offers higher yields and better profits. And in fact, about 80% of local growers have already made the transition.
80%?
Indeed, yet demand still far exceeds supply. So I'm not saying that yancha is not good and that we're witnessing a loss of yancha, but rather there are businesses and tea farmers seeing the opportunity because of how much popularity and how big the market is turning for matcha.
It's one of the challenges, I guess, is just keeping up with the demand, because you can't really do too much about it. There are harvesting seasons.
Yeah.
There are specific times of year when it's best to harvest. And there's not too much you can do about that. So I guess one of the bigger difficulties is just trying to pump out as much matcha as possible when you're dealing with certain limitations.
Yeah, I saw that even though we were telling or we're talking about how the yield, how big it can be, and it is still increasing in the future. But the thing is that the international export is already like probably roughly 3 times the pre-pandemic level. Yet, a lot of media reports like BBC still describe the situation right now as a global matcha shortage. Meanwhile, matcha-related content has, I think, generated a lot of discussion online. It's getting even more popular in recent years and getting more demand in the field. So I think that's, of course, is one of the challenges that this industry is facing. And if we're talking more specifically about Chinese matcha industry, it is also about the whole industry's reputation, if we can say that. It's about they have the quality, they have the product. And a lot of brands, a lot of different international brands. I think I saw that Starbucks and a lot of beverage brands are like cooperating with Chinese matcha producers. But people just don't know they're from China. They're from Guizhou, they're from Zhejiang. So I think that is, one of the challenges that producers from these upstream growing regions, they are selling to manufacturers and selling directly to consumers, and it is a kind of totally different mindset of the business.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Getting the recognition.
Yes.
Yeah, the acknowledgement that this is where the product comes from.
Here's how it shows in real life that the recognition is still something that we need to work on. Although Chinese matcha is now exported to 54 countries and regions, its average export price remains relatively low. Now, that might sound like a good thing on surface, but it's actually a lack of recognition at the end of the day on the Chinese productions of matcha, because the more significant structural challenge lies in the branding and product positioning, because most Chinese matcha exports are still sold as bulk industry ingredients, limiting opportunities to capture higher value brand premiums. And that's partially because of
it's an image thing,
the anonymity of Chinese matcha production, but also on how our standard, we have national standards for the quality of matcha evaluation, and also places like Tongren in Guizhou, they also have their very much detailed standards to maintain their local fames. But that, in comparison with, for example, the EU standard, is still it still has a long gap to meet, a big gap to meet in terms of how the global markets recognize us and agrees with how we see our products, because we still see that given the huge export volume, compliance in the overseas market is still an issue that must be addressed. And also experts from Guizhou University also suggest that EU standards are even stricter in terms of pesticide residues, heavy metals left over, and how the EU standard may disagree with national standards that we currently run on ever since 2017. So yeah, we already evaluate on so many different levels of things. The tea variety, what are the good matcha that we have, the processing mechanism, how we're processing it, if same, if different from the EU way or from other countries' way, and also the grinding technology, how fine the grinded powder we are offering nowadays. We all more or less meet those standards. It's just, yeah, there are differences and there are lack of recognition so far.
Well, I mean, China's doing something right, because the 2017 national matcha standard from China was recognized and adopted by a lot of different overseas markets, including the European Union and also the United States. Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense. Look to the place where it originated, find out how they do it, and make sure that that standard is kept. So therefore, with that in mind, then what about the future development of the products coming out of China then? Are there suggestions on how to move forward?
So to avoid that kind of potential market imbalances, one report is recommending that establishing an kind of industry-wide capacity monitoring and early warning system is really important with regular publication of production data. So it also encourages companies to pursue differentiated strategies like obtaining organic certification, developing high amino acid tea varieties, and also building fully traceable supply chains. These things, of course, it's about proving the quality of the product. It is also about, I think, these are the standard part to have a story to tell. So when we know that there is an old saying in China, 酒香不怕巷子深, which means that when the quality of your product is good, you won't be worrying about there is no market. But the thing is that now it is a different time. A good product, they need branding, they need marketing.
You need an image.
Yes. So there are several ways that I think the tea makers, the producers of matcha product, they should follow and actually build the story, build the brand.
Well, what would some of those ideas be? For me, I would think it just takes time. It's not something that people are going to learn about immediately, but the good thing is that you do have a quality product. So that means that the market will be there. I guess, as you said before, the popularity of the product kind of comes and goes a little bit, but it always seems to come back.
Yeah.
And we know that there are many health benefits related to matcha too. It's really good. It's really good for you. So it's never really going to disappear. So if we just keep telling that story and keep telling the stories of where this product came from in China, I think that time might just solve that problem itself.
Yeah, that's the major direction we're trying to shift this whole industry into, because nowadays China needs to move beyond our current reliance on exporting bulk matcha ingredients and refine the market to a stronger push into the higher value small package market, meaning that accelerating the development of homegrown brands, which we now see that we still have a big room of development for. In the meantime, also expanding into areas such as new style tea beverages, functional foods, and industrial applications for matcha is now the priority, instead of just looking at how big of a production we're making annually and how much we're exporting.
Yeah, because those numbers already exist, right? But if you're looking at getting the name out there, getting the image touched up a little bit, if you will, or maybe even head towards a direct association between the words China and matcha, then more overseas representation would be a good idea. Meaning more, I don't know, Chinese beverage brands, more Chinese shops located in other countries where it's the focus maybe at those shops would be matcha related. And then people would start to think, oh, matcha equals China, just like the international community thinks pandas equal China, right? It's just those two things just automatically go together. And maybe in the future we'll see that with matcha too. The market is booming, that's for sure. I'm kind of craving one now, maybe a little latte. Is there an iced latte matcha version out there?
Sure. It sounds really fair to have a iced matcha latte.
You shouldn't just drink something that's matcha involved for lunch, part of your lunch.
You reminded me. I was saying that I'm not a matcha drinker, but I just realized that I drink matcha on a daily basis because my vegetable bowl, and they always comes with a beverage, and it's everyone hated it. It's green, but it's matcha lemon tea.
Oh, there you
really
go.
Good.
See, you didn't even know you're a huge matcha fan.
Yeah.